Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into one of the absolute giants of world literature, Boccaccio's Decameron. Now, you probably know it for its witty, sometimes downright hilarious stories, right? But here's the thing, there's a dark turn right at its core. Boccaccio deliberately, and I mean deliberately, pivots from comedy to tragedy, and we're going to figure out exactly why. So for the first 3 days, think of them as sections. The stories in the Decameron are all about clever tricks, happy endings, and comic triumphs. You know, if you were reading this back in the 14th century, you'd be settled in, expecting more of the same. But then, bam, day 4 hits, and the whole mood just shatters. It's replaced by these tales of love that don't end in victory, but in pure heartbreak and death. So the big question is, why? Why would Boccaccio make such a drastic, jarring change?
Yeah, this sudden switch, it is absolutely not an accident. This is a calculated, strategic choice designed to make a really powerful point. By basically pulling the rug out from under his readers, Boccaccio forces them to confront this devastating reality, that the very same force of love that was celebrated in all those funny earlier tales can also lead to complete and utter destruction.
And as you look closer at these dark stories, a really clear pattern starts to emerge. See, the lovers aren't just torn apart by bad luck or some random misfortune. No, it's figures of authority, a father, a group of brothers, even a king, who systematically destroy their love. And they don't do it because the love is unworthy or anything like that. They do it because they just cannot stand the idea of love chosen freely outside of their control.
Okay, but what's so fascinating is how Boccaccio actually prepares us for this tragic turn. Right before day 4 kicks off, he does something pretty unique for the time. He breaks the fourth wall, you could say. He stops the story's frame and speaks directly to us, the readers, defending his work and his entire philosophy of writing. It's incredible.
So he lays out all the complaints that people supposedly have against him. It's almost like he's a lawyer addressing the prosecution. His critics say he's too focused on women, that he's obsessed with love, and that, he should be writing about more important stuff. But this is all a setup, right? He's creating a stage to defend not just himself, but the right of all literature to explore the complete, messy, passionate range of what it means to be human.
And to make his case, he doesn't hit you with some dry philosophical argument. No, he tells a story, a really witty one. So there's this father who raises his son in a cave, totally shielded from the world. When the boy is finally brought into the city, he sees a group of beautiful women for the first time. The father, trying to, protect him, calls them goslings and tells him to look away. But the boy is instantly captivated, and he begs his dad, "Father, please, I beg you, let me have one of those goslings." The point couldn't be clearer. Attraction, desire, love, it's natural. It's inescapable. So this little story, this parable, it's not just a clever joke. It's actually the key that unlocks the really profound idea at the very heart of all the tragedies in day 4. So what is this revolutionary idea? What's the core philosophy that these heartbreaking, tragic tales are all designed to illustrate? Well, Boccaccio is essentially arguing for a concept we'd now call natural law. He presents love not as some moral failing or a frivolous choice, but as a fundamental, unstoppable force of nature. Think of it like gravity. It's that powerful, that real. He's saying it's part of who we are, and to deny it is to deny our own humanity. And this idea, it's captured perfectly by his most formidable character, a woman named Gismonda. In the very first, and maybe the most important tale of day 4, she delivers this incredibly powerful line. It basically becomes the thesis statement for all the tragedy that follows, a direct challenge to the authority that's trying to crush her. And her speech, wow. It is an absolute masterclass in rhetoric. First, she argues that love is a natural impulse, so it can't be sinful. Makes sense, right? Second, she claims that her lover, even though he's from a lower social class, is truly noble because of his character and his virtue, and that's what really matters. And then finally, she faces her enraged father and declares that she will accept death with a dignity that just exposes his cruelty for what it is. It's breathtaking.
And Boccaccio doesn't just, state this idea once and move on. Oh no, he drills it home, story after story, showing the absolutely devastating consequences when man-made laws of social power try to suppress the natural law of love. So you see this brutal pattern emerge again and again. In tale after tale, you have a pair of lovers who are discovered by a powerful family member, a father, some brothers, a grandfather, and the response is always this violent assertion of authority which leads directly to tragedy. It's relentless. And you have to understand, Gismonda's speech wasn't just good drama for the sake of it. It was a direct intervention in one of the biggest philosophical debates of the 14th century. This whole idea that nobility comes from your character, not your bloodline, that was a hot-button issue. So by giving this powerful, articulate argument to a woman, and a woman who is literally staring death in the face, Boccaccio gives the idea an extraordinary, unforgettable force.
Then, Boccaccio shifts gears. He moves from that intellectual argument to something that's just pure, gut-wrenching emotion. In the story of Lisabetta, her brothers murder her lover. She finds his body, unearths his head, and buries it in a pot of basil, which she then waters with her own constant tears. It becomes one of the most haunting and enduring images in all of literature. A symbol of love, grief, and defiance, all rolled into one.
And just when you think it can't get any more extreme, Boccaccio pushes the theme to its absolute limit. In another story, a jealous husband murders his wife's lover, literally cuts out his heart, has it cooked, and then serves it to her. Now, while that's just grotesque to us, you have to remember that for a medieval audience, this had another layer. It was a bizarre, twisted symbol of total devotion. The lover is literally consumed and made a part of his beloved forever.
So, the impact of these stories, these powerful, emotionally intense tragedies, was absolutely enormous. They didn't just shock Boccaccio's contemporaries, they helped shape the very DNA of tragic literature in Europe for centuries to come.
I mean, just look, a generation later, at the great English poet Geoffrey Chaucer. He borrowed heavily from these exact stories for his own work. But their approaches were different. Boccaccio is raw, he's passionate. He demands that you feel the injustice in your gut. Chaucer, on the other hand, is a bit more philosophical. He tends to pull back and contemplate the deeper, more abstract meaning of suffering.
So what's the big takeaway here? Boccaccio's sudden dark turn to tragedy in Day 4 isn't just for shock value, not at all. It's a profound exploration of the conflict between our most natural human impulses and the rigid, often cruel structures of society. It forces us to ask a question that's just as relevant today as it was 700 years ago. When love and duty clash, what's the right choice? And maybe more importantly, what is the price of making that choice?